Growing up in southern Louisiana under hoodoo and voodoo influences, working in a hoodoo shop and learning deeply about the tradition and the history of hoodoo, as well as other African traditional religions such as Ifa or voodoo or Santeria, just to name a few, one thing that I learned is that most people cross, curse, or hex themselves. I had the great and most amazing experience of working in a hoodoo shop in the French Quarter of New Orleans. I was able to meet so many beautiful and wonderful souls and was able to gift them with amazing readings. I still have so many clients from that experience that I help to this day, but also I encountered a lot of walk ins and a lot of individuals travel to New Orleans to get tarot readings or to tap into a psychic in New Orleans. It's such a mystical place. And to be born in New Orleans and from New Orleans, I understand. But one thing that was common with walk in clients requesting a reading was that they wanted to know where they cursed, hexed, or crossed. They wanted to know why their life was stagnant, why it felt like they couldn't win. A lot of people accredit it to something riding them or a curse being placed on them or someone hating them or gossiping about them, or that there was some reason why they were feeling outside of themselves. And yes, energy can be at play that could stop you or limit you, but I believe we're all more powerful than to let any energy stop or block us. But the main way we get stopped, blocked, cursed, hexed, or crossed is by ourselves. It's by holding on to past identities of ourselves, holding on to the past, and honestly, not allowing ourselves to really dream, dare, or be free. What I've realized with clients that come in and think that they're cross or hex, a lot of times they're living their life based on their middle school themselves or their high school selves, or they're basing a life on common misconceptions that they have accepted as themselves. They're stagnant because they have a fear. They're stagnant because they don't want to step into the future because they're too terrified to let go of their past selves. They are identifying themselves as a version that they were meant to outgrow long ago. And thus they're stuck and trapped in the past. They're cursed or crossed or hexed because that energy is now riding them. It has clouded their judgment and they can't see through. And maybe I should take that back. Maybe they can see through. But once again, is that fear. We all have this inner feeling, this gut feeling, this feeling in our chest of what we know we're supposed to do, of what our potential is, of who we were meant to become in this lifetime. But if we hold on to the viewpoints of our parents, of society, of our peers, of past coworkers, of everything that we're supposed to be, instead of what we know is true to ourselves, we let them have power over us. We let those ideals, those norms have power over us. We release control to them. If you follow those, if you don't make space for your own identity, but yet you are adopting and adapting to the identity of the world, you are allowing yourself to be crossed. You are crossing yourself. I love to use this quote. We are made in the image of the ultimate creator. We are made in the image of God. We're sent on this earth to create, to make a life that is perfect and beautiful for us. But when we stop creating and believing, when we say, I won't create the life for me, but I will let someone else create a life for me. I will follow the life that someone else is living. I will envy something else instead of envying what is destined for me. I will become something that my soul doesn't even resonate with because I'm under the propaganda or the persuasion of the world. You are cursing and hexing, crossing yourself. I like to use the word crossing more because it's based more so in African traditional religions, and I like the viewpoint of it. Crossing, wires being crossed, because you can unravel those wires. You can uncross yourself. You can cleanse and reset yourself, your palette, and your life. But what I've learned is that when people take away their own faults and being stagnant, when people hold on to the idea that it has to be someone else other than them, that they have to be blocked or stuck or crossed or cursed or hexed by someone else, you double down on that stagnation. You double down on the fact that you're stopping yourself. And once again, and even more importantly, when you think that it's an outside force blocking you and keeping you restricted, you give that outside force power. You allow that outside force to keep you stuck. So, learning and seeing so many examples of individuals coming in and thinking that they're cursed and hexed, I always find a way to ask them in which way could they be adding on to this feeling? In which way could they actually have a hand in being stagnant or keeping themselves stuck? In which way? And now, look, in readings, I get deep. I don't just have people come in and I'm like, oh no, you cursed yourself. Of course not. But I go deep under the surface. I go into the various layers of their spirit. I talk to spirit. I talk to their ancestral lineage, and we get to the deeps of what it is. Sometimes that curse is past traumas from childhood, from the past relationships, past jobs, past chapters where they felt like their soul had been stripped away from them, or their power, more importantly, that their power had been stripped away and taken away from them, and they haven't reclaimed it yet. It's most important to know that if you are believing, if you think that there's a force riding you, stopping you, blocking you, start to look inward. How could you be blocking yourself? How could you be making yourself stagnant? How do you keep space or hold space for past ideals or norms that don't reflect what you want? In which ways are you the same since you were 10 years ago? In which ways do you need to release past baggages so that you can be free? What's the narrative that you tell yourself that you force yourself to believe that's outdated? How can you release yourself from that? Now, also, one thing, working in a hoodoo shop and learning about various African traditional religions and just any sort of spiritual practice is spiritual cleansing. And if you believe you've been cursed, hexed, or crossed, you should do a spiritual cleanse. And there's so many resources online. I can put some in the comments. You can reach out to me if you need information about it. There's so many ways where you can spiritually cleanse and reset yourself spiritually. But even when doing so, if you are crossing yourself, if your mindset is based in the past or based on someone else's identity or norms or reality, no amount of spiritual cleansing will keep you on the path that you need to be on. In order to really get under the surface and understand and keep yourself guided and on the path that is destined for you, you need to point the finger at yourself and see how you can or you are perpetuating the cycle of keeping yourself crossed or stuck or stagnant. And another simple way of checking in with the self and seeing how you are keeping yourself stuck is monthly check-ins, asking yourself in which ways have this month have I blocked myself or crossed myself, or in which ways have I been holding on, doing the shadow work, really doing the shadow work, tapping deep into the dark sides of yourself that you don't want to face. Because honestly, that is such a large part of, excuse me, because honestly, that's such a large part of cursing and hexing and crossing yourself. Your life could be more free, more fun, more abundant. You could actually feel true joy that's consistent and not fleeing. You won't feel stagnant. You will understand yourself more and you will know your true power and that no one can have control over you but yourself. But if you don't do the shadow work, if you don't tap deep into yourself, if you don't point that finger back to yourself, you will always be under this impression that you are cursed, hexed, crossed, that you are stuck. But I want you to know, or when you decide to look deeper into yourself, to do the shadow work, to see in which ways are you keeping the cycle going, that you're keeping yourself stuck, When you start to unravel those layers and doing the shadow work, you will start to align yourself with the perfect reality for you. You will start to be in alignment with creating your life perfectly, being in a reflection of the ultimate creator. And you can find yourself finding the perfect tribe, finding the perfect partner, finding the perfect job, creating the art that you've been missing out on, the art that you've been trying to let out of your soul. But it's so important to know you have more power than you know of keeping yourself stagnant, of crossing yourself, of blocking yourself from the blessings that are meant to be delivered to you. I may do a part 2 to this video. This was just a channel message that came to me that I really wanted to talk about and let go of. So I may find a way to make this a little bit more constructive and more in depth. So stay tuned for that. But you're so powerful. You're more powerful than you know. And I will always be here to guide you and to remind you of that.